This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we're going to be piping buttercream spray roses. It's divided into sections, so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. We're going to be making the colors for our spray roses, and we're using all American-style buttercream and a couple of liquid gel colors. Lemon yellow, royal blue, violet, and finally some neon bright pink. I'm going to start out by making a nice kind of lilac-ish color. So I've got a little bit of my pink and purple out on my lid. And I'm just going to do some specks of that. And I think I want to be more purple than pink. And I want a nice present color, but I don't want it to be too dark. So just a few more specks on that purple than I did of the pink, and we'll give it a mix around and see how it looks. And I think the answer is lovely. I just want it to be a little darker, especially so that it reads well on camera. It's a nice color right now, and if I were doing it just for an order, I might stop here, but it'll read a little better on camera if I go a little darker. So I'm just gonna bump it up a little bit. I love pretty pastels, but sometimes they get too washed out for lessons. So let's just add a little more color. And I like mixing a little bit of that pink in, just so it's not that kind of pure, simple, basic purple. It has just a little hint of that pink in it. So that's a nice, lovely shade of purple. We're going to set this aside and make a tiny bit of green. So the next thing we're going to do is make a tiny bit of green, and we're going to use this to make some sepals. I'm just going to do a few little specks of yellow and a couple of blue, and I just want to make a nice green. It has approximately the same value, same kind of hue, level of saturation as my purple. So I don't want it to be too dark. I also don't want it to be too pastel. And this is kind of an optional step, so if you're going to skip the sepals, you can skip making some green. So I just did a few specks each on my lemon and that royal blue, just to get a nice shade of green. And I think that's going to look beautiful alongside our purple. For this flower, we are using two 12-inch disposable decorating bags. I fitted my bag with my purple with a coupler so that I can change tips, and my bag of green I fitted directly with the tip. We're using several tips with our purple. The first one is a number 7. We'll also use a number 61, which is a curved petal tip, and a number 104, which is a straight petal tip. For our green, we're going to use a number 352, so a V-shaped leaf tip. Let's talk about the techniques that we're going to use for our spray roses. The first one is piping a cone. We're going to use a number 7, so it'll be smaller than the cone that we did for our basic rose, if you've already watched that video. And we want to just start like we normally would while making a dot. We want to be up off the surface, squeeze until you hit that nice full size, and then just pull up slowly so that you make a nice little tapered shape. So you can see that there, beautiful. We're ready to make a nice little petite rose on. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the center petals. Now this one is one I can't really show you on the tray because I have to be able to spin on the nail. But basically the thing you want to remember and the thing you want to know is that teardrop shaped opening. You want to line it up with the angle of that cone and just have the very top, that skinny end right there, right next to the peak of that cone, or just a little bit above. That way, when you hold and squeeze, you're going to make a nice closed center petal. When you get back to the beginning, you're going to pull down to finish it. And that's going to give you that nice wrapped look of an inside petal. Next, let's talk about the petals. The first ones are teardrop shaped petals we're going to create with our number 61 tip. And we're going to hold it so the top end curves out. And we're going to draw this nice teardrop shaped petal. A little hard to do on the tray, but basically we're gonna pull up, rotate, and then pull back. And that's gonna give us a little cupped petal that's gonna look really sweet and turn out away from the center of our rose. The second kind of petal we're going to do is a soft arc using our 104. So we're just going to make that same kind of soft arching motion that we do for a lot of our petals. And we're going to make sure that the back end, the fat end, is connected to that cone of frosting so that it sticks to it. And our final technique are going to be leaves. We're using a number 352, and we're going to do short little leaves that are actually optional. And rather than pull along the angle we're holding the bag like we normally would, we're actually going to pull straight out just to give them a flat appearance and make them rest against the surface. So start like you normally would, bag at 45 degrees, one point touching, squeeze your leaf, and then pull directly out. That'll detach it and give you a leaf that lays flat against the surface. It's a perfect way to make little sepals and add a tiny pop of color at the bottom of your blossoms. So let's talk about how we combine those techniques to create a spray rose. The first thing we're going to do is pipe that nice little petite cone on our flower nail. Next, we're going to grab our 104 tip and we're going to pipe that nice tight center petal, remembering to pull down at the end to help finish it. And then we're going to change over to our 61 tip and we're going to pipe a trio of those cupped petals. We're going to remember to hold it so that tip is curving out. And we're going to pipe them kind of starting about halfway down, and the tip is going to be held kind of straight up and down. So just the end is curving out. And that's going to give it a nice little look. And we're just going to go up the side, do a nice little evenly spaced trio. Then we're going to slide it down just a little bit. Keep pretty much the same orientation. You can rock the tip out just a little bit if you want to make it open up a little more, but I kind of like them straight up and down. And we're going to do a second trio offset from the first. So basically in the gap that each of the first ones leave, we're going to put a second one just a little bit lower down. And then we're going to go ahead and switch over to our 104 tip. And right at the base, anywhere there's a gap, we're going to put one of those soft arc petals. And for this one, we're really going to rock that tip out so it's almost at like a 45-degree angle. And that's just going to kind of fill in those spaces around the base that are left by those cupped petals. You'll have a little spot underneath each one of those cupped petals that you can then put in a little sepal just to add a tiny little pop of green if you want to. So to get started, we've got our number 7 tip on our bag of purple. We've got a little piece of parchment affixed to our flower nail, and we're just going to hold that bag straight up and down, up off the surface, let your frosting balloon out, get a nice ball, and then pull up nice and slow. When you're ready to finish it, pull away quickly. And you can see that makes a nice little cone for yourself. So now we're going to pipe our center petal, and we have our 104 tip on there, and you can see that the cone is just a tiny bit taller than that 104 tip, so not by much. We're going to line it up with that angle. Back of the bag is towards my back shoulder. It's at a 45-degree angle as well, and we're just going to spin as we squeeze. When we get back to the beginning, pull down, and you can see that gives you that nice tight center petal and a nice little overlap there that looks beautiful. I've changed to my 61 tip in order to do my little cupped shape teardrop petals. And important note here is that we're holding the bag much differently than normally. You'll notice it's going out straight towards the side. So if I'm looking at it, it's like at a 3 o'clock position. And I'm holding that tip upright and it's almost flat, right? So not at a 45-degree angle, flat and at 3 o'clock. That way I can hold the tip in front of my cone so I can see where I'm going. Start about halfway down, pull up, rotate a little bit when you get to the center, and then pull back down. And you can see it gives us that nice cupped shaped petal that curls out for us. We're going to go ahead and do 3 of these. So a nice little trio. And don't be afraid to bring them up higher than that little center that you created on your cone. Once you're finished with your first trio, you're going to go ahead and do a second one. Pull it down a little bit lower so we're almost touching the bottom of that cone, and then pull up. These probably won't come up as high as the first ones, and that's just perfect. And if you need to, play with the angle of your nail while you're doing this to allow you to get those petals in there. And you can see that gives you a beautiful look to those petals. We've changed back to our 104, and we're going to change how we're holding the bag again too. So think a more traditional position. Back of the bag is touching my shoulder. It's at a 45-degree angle, and we're going to take the top point of that tip and rotate it out so that we can pipe 3 soft arc petals in between the bottom row of cupped petals that we did. Now we're going to finish off our flowers. We've got our green bag with our 352, and we're just going to pull 3 tiny little leaves to give it some sepals. And you can see it's got just that little pop of green to help set things off and really add a little bit of vibrant color and make our petals stand out. And we have a lovely little spray rose. That's all for this lesson. If you liked this video, try checking out some of our other flower series tutorials. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, or suggestions for us, we would love to hear from you in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecoratingschool.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.